start right there. All right, there we go. So three, two, and one. Dan, welcome back. Here's Monday here, WSAU, WSAU.com. Almost retirement looks good on you. I can say you're looking like you're in that spot where you're getting ready, looking ahead and saying, is this still my problem? Or can I say it's not my problem yet?
Well, it's a couple of months to go yet, so and it's been busy as we talked about before we went on air here at the village. So not really much time right now to think about that, but I know that obviously probably as we get through the holiday season and head into the new year, then it's going to be pretty real for me because then it's only a month away after that.
Yeah, indeed. For those of you that don't know, early February, it's going to be your last day with the village. I'm sure we'll try to talk to you at least one more time before then to get all the reflective, the contemplative things going. But the first thing I've got to ask you is, for me right now, I'm in vacation planning mode for next year. Looking through and saying, okay, where do I want to go this year? Where do I want to go? I'm sure for somebody close to retirement like you've already started that as well. Not only just for a year, but you're saying, okay, let's start planning out a little further right now, right?
Sure. And, we've talked about that, my wife and I, we'd like to do a little bit of traveling, but we'll have to balance that because my wife currently is helping with the daycare for our two granddaughters.
Mhm.
And so I'll be helping out with that. So I may be more tired coming home from babysitting than going to work. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. The little ones can wear you out sometimes, but hey, I mean, that's got to be a great feeling to say, hey, now we can go wherever it is we want. Nobody's going to tell us no. It's certainly something that I'm looking forward to whenever that happens. But for now, we'll continue to make these community connections like we have to every now and then and talk about what's going on down there in the great village of Plover. First off, the Lake Pakawa project, something that you've been working on. It's been a several years project right now, and you're really starting to turn that now into something that you're proud of.
Exactly. We're wrapping things up for this construction season. There's still some interior work on, for example, the shelter and the changing room area, and then the heart of the maintenance area for the splash pad. So interior work can continue on for a little bit here yet, but kind of all the outside work is now wrapping up. But boy, it's coming along really, really nicely. I mean, a lot of people have walked out there to check it out. And so they're really thrilled with what they see for the playground. They didn't realize the playground area was that big, that the splash pad area was that large. They really like the looks of the shelter that's going up. They can actually walk around the lake on the what will be the trail. It's not quite paved yet, but the base course is down, so they can get a feeling for that. So really, it's really shaping up and looking pretty good. And like you said, we'll put it to bed here for a little while winter comes, and then starting in April, we'll get back to it and finish up the project by the end of July.
Yeah, and what exactly are those finishing touches? I know you kind of mentioned maybe paving work on some of the trails out there. What else do you see happening by next summer to really cap this off?
Sure. So some of the major work that has to go in yet is basically the two fishing piers in the boat kayak launch area. So just some of the base work has been done there, but getting those structures out, setting them all up, getting that ready to go will still have to happen. There'll be a lot of grading work that's left to go. We put a seat wall out there in the beach area, replaced all the sand area. Boy, it looks very inviting and very nice right now. But speaking of that, there's still some invasive species control in Lake Pakawa that we'll still be doing. And then we're putting an aerator in there as well to basically kind of keep some of those invasives down and make sure that water quality remains high as well. So those are probably the major things. And then just buttoning up the buildings themselves and making sure they're done. I'm sure there'll be some painting that's left. There's still some concrete work. There's the surfacing under the playground area and the splash pad area, well, the playground area, I should say, that needs to be done. So definitely things to do yet.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that's going to be taking up a lot of your time over the next few weeks. I know, because you said you've got some grant applications and things like that you have to button up as well before you turn things over to your successor. But before we talk about that, give us an idea of what this area looks like before you started this project, because as you mentioned, invasive species, the water quality wasn't all that great. I mean, how far has this project come?
It's really amazing. I have to, go backwards in time and talk about that. Lake Pacwa used to be the gathering place for families. The beach was always crowded and full. People basically came there and did picnicking and also used the water. Then, in addition to that, there were several festivals that were held during the summer too. So it was known as the gathering place. But then the water quality started to kind of go down, and so people stopped coming because of that. The festivals went away, so there was really no activities happening at the park. So the base of the park was still there, but there was just really, nothing happening. And then, some of the structures out there got old. There's two lions shelters that came down, were replaced with the new one. Boy, those structures were certainly not in the greatest of shape. Even the changing room area, I mean, that basically used to be a septic system, a large scale septic system, for people to use. And it's like, nah. So that has been completely revamped. And so what has happened here is you've just seen, a complete renovation of the property. It really started with the band shell at Lake Pacwa. Uh, that I think was the first project that when we put it in, the community, was really excited about it. Of course, then we ran into COVID and we weren't able to use it in more or less 20 and 21. But the community is very, very excited to be able to use it. And now we've got all these other improvements going on: the splash pad, the playground area, canoe and kayak launch areas, fishing piers, new parking areas. Again, a changing room for those that use the band shell. If we have, like during Celebrate Plover, we've got dance groups that come in. And so those young people can go in and actually change rather than use a motorhome that we actually had brought in before. So just an incredible amount of changes that are happening. And then, of course, the big thing in all this is that, this entire park was designed with inclusivity and ADA accessibility in mind. So um, people are going to be very, very surprised when they see the scope and the breadth of that, and how everybody in the entire community, and in fact, people from beyond our communities, will be able to use that facility and enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's probably part of what you're dealing with right now, as far as grant applications and things like that go, because of some of the funding sources that you use. Not only is it the right thing to do to make this park ADA accessible and accessible for all, but it's also has helped pay for some of these upgrades too, I'm guessing, correct?
Well, exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned the fundraising. So we still are in the midst of the fundraising. When we put it together, knowing that I'm doing some of the fundraising, but I have my administrator duties, we kind of talked about it from a 2-year fundraising standpoint, especially because construction was also going to be over a 2-year period. So we really hope that would be about 50% of the way for fundraising. And we're not quite there. We're pretty close. We're above 40%. And then next year, especially with my retirement, I'll be able to focus a lot more time on the fundraising. Overall goal for fundraising is about $2.2 million. So we're nearing that $1 million range right now, which is great, but we definitely have some work to do. So anybody that's interested can make a donation to the Celebrate Plover Foundation, Inc. And that mailing address would be P.O. Box 37 in Plover, Wisconsin, with a zip of 54467. And again, I'll be very, very busy once I retire, because I happen to serve on the Celebrate Plover Foundation, Inc. board as vice president. So I agreed that that's one thing I would continue to do. I'll serve on that committee, and I'll continue helping with fundraising for that incredible project.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing just exactly what this looks like once it is all completed, and I'm sure done and ready in time for Celebrate Plover 2022. Would that be the goal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing that when it's done. Another thing that we're going to look forward to, and you've been looking forward to this for a while, the figuring out what you're going to do with the Yonkers building. Obviously, big box retail space like that has dried up across the region. There's no secret to that. It's something that you've been dealing with. You were able to get the Shopco building back up and running, and into a great place to visit and spend some time in an afternoon. What do you have in mind right now for the Yonkers building as you're looking at that?
Something very similar in nature, as a matter of fact. The developer who helped us with the Shopko building basically has an option to purchase the Yonkers building. And so we hope that that closing will take place before the end of the year. And one of the things where we're working on is a developer's agreement with this individual. The cost for this acquisition and renovation will be higher. So he's looking for a little bit of financial assistance from the village because that is in a TIF district. And so with that TIF district being in great financial shape, we feel that we can do that. There's a decision that the village had to make is, do we want to sit with a building empty for another 20 years, or do we really want to make this a vibrant, pleasant area for people to come to shop and create that vitality by creating new businesses that are there. And so from a staff perspective, we think that's very, very important. And so the next step will be getting this developers agreement in place so that basically both the village understands what its responsibilities are, and then so does the developers. We move forward with that project.
So then what exactly are they envisioning to go in there? Is it more of the same of what went in the Shopko building, with just a mix of anything from a gym to a brewery to a shop, a hair salon, or is there maybe a different direction that they want to take this building in?
Well, I think that in some cases they'll want to be different. I mean, the retail type of uses, the personal type of uses, smaller scale uses, I think is what the interest is out there. There's been even a discussion of taking those two buildings and linking them together. So that would be interesting and good. And then we may have talked about that outside and part of the parking area, they want to convert to a green space area that's attractive for outings. So whether they have a concert outside or a small ice skating rink in the winter, they want to do that. And now the concept could be that they might shift that over. So that's actually between the two buildings. So it's more shared and work better from that perspective. So, a lot of things that are being considered right now. But again, I think that you'll see similar types of uses, but I'm sure they want variety, as much variety as we can get out there to, make it as attractive for people. It's like, oh, they have this, they have that, they have many different things. And, it's a reason to come because you can do multiple types of shoppings rather than just the same old thing.
Yeah, rather than just being in and out, it's a great place to spend an afternoon or even into the to the early evening as well. One thing I got to ask you, blink twice if it's going to be Chick-fil-A. Are we bringing Chick-fil-A? Are we still working on that? No. Man.
I'm not blinking. I'm not blinking.
One of these days, I'm going to make this happen, and we're going to get Chick-fil-A somewhere here in central Wisconsin. I've been working on this with Weeza, working on it with Mayor Katie. I thought maybe I could get you to break here in your last couple of months, but this is a quest that's going to continue, I guess.
There you go.
One more thing then before we let you go. We do want to talk about you last time we talked back in it was actually back in July, right? When you had announced that you were going to be retiring here in early 2022. You said that the village was going to be working on a succession plan. Where are we yet? Do you know who's taking over your position? Do you have somebody maybe behind the filing cabinet that you're going to it's going to jump out and is going to announce that they're taking over?
Yes, we did put the succession plan in place. Ultimately, what's going to happen is Dan Alt, who is currently our chief of police, he will be sliding into the administrator's role. He's done a tremendous job from a leadership standpoint over in the police department. Basically does a fantastic job with the staff and really mentoring folks to basically step up into leadership roles. So I felt, and the village board feels that, he will be good, and he will not be there for a long period of time. He's got retirement himself coming up. But in the meantime, we have an assistant administrator. So part of the goal there is to continue mentoring that individual as well, so that, he will have a chance to, show whether he can do the job in about 2 years when Dan Alt retires. But we're all set. The village board was really comfortable with that. I want to tell you is that, we've spent 20 years, and by we, it's the village board and administration, really setting up the right culture at the village of Plover of working well with our property owners, working well with our business owners. The great working relationship that exists between the village board and the department heads and the employees. And so that we really wanted to continue that culture. And we believe strongly that bringing Dan into that position will ensure that over the next couple of years that will happen. And again, the goal is to continue mentoring the person that would step in to, really get a good grip on what, those goals, objectives, and policies should be, and then have that person slide in.
And especially coming from a law enforcement background like that, it's somebody that's going to be running things the right way, somebody that's going to be very, very tight with procedures and things like that. That things are to be done in a certain way, which is always great in this kind of setting. But then you're also losing that for your police department as well. So, what is the plan with the Police and Fire Commission then once Dan does move over? In a succession in their end of it.
Well, as you heard me say a little bit ago, Dan's done a good job of mentoring in his department. And so his assistant chief, Ryan Fox, will be moving into the chief's position. Already some of those duties have been handed off to him. As a matter of fact, more or less, most of the duties will be handed off to Ryan as police chief and then Dan as administrator starting next week. And so that will happen. And then that allows myself to basically start working on the projects that need to be closed out and get everything aligned. So, I'm leaving no stone unturned when Dan steps into the final role right after February 4th. But the same thing for Ryan Fox in the police department. He's already taken on some of those roles. And so, again, I can't commend the police department enough of the fantastic job they've done in mentoring. And it's not just one individual, but obviously over time you have these positions that you need to fill. And those folks are stepping up into those positions, doing great from a leadership standpoint. So we're all set. It's pretty amazing, but we are in good shape.
Yeah, sounds like it. It's been a very well thought through plan. And of course, you've kind of, as you said, left no stone unturned in this. And it sounds like everything is going to go great. One thing that you're looking forward to the most in retirement, is it the cake at your retirement party?
Oh, I love cake, but no, I will tell you the one thing I look forward to most is being able to help with the daycare for our two granddaughters. They are just fantastic. They make me laugh all the time they're around. And so I know I'll be doing a lot of laughing and smiling over these next few years. So that's the thing I look forward to. Second to that is doing some traveling. We would like to do some traveling. I've got some sisters on the East Coast. My wife, Carrie, has really not been to the West Coast very much at all. So I'd like to show her. I've been there a few times, and so there's some fantastic things to see and do out there. So that'll be on the docket too, is to get some traveling in and enjoy that.
I would say then, if she hasn't been to the West Coast, taking the granddaughters to Disneyland in Anaheim is probably right there at number one then, isn't it?
I've been there.
Okay.
Myself, but not with young kids. Although basically, when our children were young, we were in Florida and we took them to Florida and had a blast there. Oh, by the way, there might be one other thing that I may do occasionally, and that might be golfing. Some people give me a hard time that I enjoy golfing, so I might get a little bit more of that in as I retire too.
It is a good walk spoiled nonetheless, but your worst day on the golf course is still better than your best day at the office, right?
There you go.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, we appreciate the time. Again, we'll look forward to chatting one more time before you do become a professional golfer and hit the links.
Very good. Thank you so much, Michael, and have a great Thanksgiving, and same to your listeners and
Absolutely.
watchers. Okay.